Welcome, everyone. Today we're jumping into something that, well, it causes a lot of head scratching. CBD. Specifically, how it interacts with your mind and that word psychoactive, which seems to mean different things to different people.
It really does. And that's kind of our mission today, isn't it? To clear up some of that confusion. We want to dig into what psychoactive truly means regarding CBD, how it stacks up against, well, other things people know, and what you might actually, feel.
Yeah, get past the assumptions.
And we're drawing a lot from a really excellent piece on the 420formulator.com blog. It's run by Mike Harmon. And the blog does a fantastic job breaking down these details.
Okay, let's start right there then with psychoactive. Because honestly, when I first heard CBD described that way, I thought, wait, does that mean it gets you high? That's the immediate thought.
That's the common leap, absolutely. But the blog points out something crucial. Psychoactive is actually a much, much broader term.
Broader?
Well, at its core, it just means a substance has some effect on your brain function, mood, or perception. Any effect. Think about it this way.
Yeah.
And the blog gives these examples. Caffeine.
Right.
Definitely psychoactive.
Oh, yeah. Definitely feel that in the morning.
Right. It makes you alert, focused, maybe a bit edgy sometimes. It changes your mental state.
Yeah.
And get this even, chocolate has psychoactive properties.
Chocolate, seriously.
Seriously, that little mood lift, that feeling of comfort, that's brain chemistry at work, influenced by compounds in the chocolate.
Wow. Okay, so that really shifts the perspective. It's not just about, seeing unicorns.
Not at all. It's a huge spectrum. And CBD, yes, it fits the definition because it can influence mood and brain activity, but, and this is the key thing, it's way, way down the other end of the spectrum from something like THC. It's not intoxicating.
Right. Okay. That's the critical distinction then, because everyone knows THC is the stuff in cannabis that causes the high. So if CBD is technically psychoactive, how is it so different from THC? Let's really unpack that.
Yeah, this is where the blog is super helpful. It explains that THC directly binds, like a key in a lock, to specific receptors in your brain, mainly the CB1 receptors. And that binding action is what leads to the classic effects, the giggles, the altered sense of time, feeling sleepy or out of it, the high.
The intoxication.
Precisely. Your perception changes, maybe your coordination, your thoughts might wander. Now, CBD, it doesn't do that. The blog is really clear. CBD does not directly bind to those CB1 receptors in the same way. So none of those intoxicating effects happen.
So you won't suddenly find snacks incredibly fascinating or forget what you were saying mid-sentence.
What people often report with CBD is more like a gentle feeling of calm, maybe feeling less wound up or just more centered. But crucially, as the blog puts it, you keep your wits about you and stay in control. You're present. You're yourself. So they're both cannabinoids, yes, from the same plant family, but they interact with our bodies very, very differently. One intoxicates, one doesn't.
Okay, that distinction is vital. But then, how does CBD create these more subtle effects? It feels like magic, but you're saying there's a system for it. This part really blew my mind when I read about it. Our bodies are sort of pre-wired for this stuff.
It's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? It's called the endocannabinoid system, the ECS. Think of it as your body's internal balancing team. It's this huge network of receptors and chemical signals spread throughout your entire body, brain, organs, immune cells, everywhere.
Wow, everywhere.
Pretty much. And its main job is homeostasis. Keeping things stable. It helps regulate so many things. Your mood, sleep patterns, appetite, how you handle stress, even pain perception. It's constantly working behind the scenes.
So our bodies actually make their own cannabis-like compounds.
Exactly. They're called endocannabinoids. Endo, meaning within. Your body produces them as needed to send messages and keep things running smoothly. Now, here's how CBD fits in, according to the blog's explanation. CBD doesn't barge in and take over the system like THC. It doesn't bind strongly to those main receptors. Instead, it acts more like a supportive friend to your ACS. One of the main things it seems to do is inhibit an enzyme that breaks down your own endocannabinoids.
So it helps your natural stuff stick around longer.
Precisely. It lets your body's own calming or balancing signals have a slightly stronger or longer-lasting effect. So it's not forcing a high. It's more like giving your natural systems a little nudge to help them do their job when things are maybe a bit out of balance, supporting equilibrium.
That makes so much more sense. It's working with the body, not against it or overwhelming it. So putting all this together, if someone decides to try CBD, what should they realistically expect to feel? If it's not a high, what is that experience like based on what the blog describes?
Yeah, managing expectations is key, and the blog does that well. For many people, the feeling is quite subtle. It's often described as a gentle sense of relaxation washing over them, or maybe noticing that the edge has been taken off their stress or anxiety.
Like turning the volume down a bit.
That's a great way to put it. Some find it helps quiet those racing thoughts that can interfere with sleep. But it's also really important to say some people might not notice much at all, especially initially or with low doses. Or maybe their system is already pretty balanced.
And the big takeaway is what you don't feel, right?
Absolutely. No intoxication, no buzz, no feeling out of it or losing control. The blog uses some nice analogies.
Yeah.
It's maybe like sipping a calming cup of herbal tea or going for a mindful walk outside.
Gentle.
Yeah, you feel a bit better, a bit more settled perhaps, but you are completely functional, completely clear-headed. It's support, not a dramatic escape or alteration, just helping things settle.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. Okay, so beyond that general feeling of calm, what about other potential benefits? Research is looking into CBD for various things, isn't it? And maybe we can tackle some common myths that the blog helps clear up too.
Sure. On the benefit side, there's definitely growing interest in some promising early research, plus tons of anecdotal reports. People explore CBD for things like anxiety relief, better sleep, potentially helping with pain and inflammation. Maybe that nagging joint feels a bit easier or falling asleep isn't such a struggle.
Right.
But, and this is really important, but that the blog emphasizes the science is still playing catch up. There's a lot we're still learning. So you have to be cautious about anyone making really bold cure-all claims. It's potential, not proven for everything yet.
Good disclaimer. Always approach with healthy skepticism. Okay, let's bust some myths then. What are the big ones the blog addresses?
Well, the number one, which we've kind of covered, is the idea that CBD is not psychoactive at all. The fact, as we discussed, is that it is psychoactive by definition. It affects the brain. But the key is distinguishing that from being intoxicating or hallucinogenic. It influences mood, often towards calm, but doesn't distort reality.
Got it. Influence, non-intoxication. What's next? The drug test worry. That comes up a lot.
Huge one. Myth. CBD makes you fail drug tests. Fact. Standard drug tests are looking for THC, not CBD. So if you're using a pure CBD product and an isolate, theoretically, you should be fine. However, and this is critical, some CBD products, especially full-spectrum ones, can legally contain trace amounts of THC, usually under 0.3%. And products from less reputable sources might have more than they claim.
Ah, so the source and type really matter there.
Absolutely. The blog advises caution in sticking with brands that provide third-party lab reports confirming purity and THC content. It's about knowing what you're actually getting.
Makes sense. And what about dosage? Is more always better?
That's another common myth. People think if a little helps, a lot must help more. But the fact, as the blog explains, is that there seems to be a sort of sweet spot or optimal dose range for CBD, and it varies from person to person.
Like a bell curve effect sometimes.
Exactly. That's how some researchers describe it. More isn't necessarily better, and sometimes taking too much might even be less effective or just, cost more without added benefit. Finding your personal right amount is key.
So experimenting carefully seems like the way to go.
Yeah, starting low and going slow is the usual advice.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The big picture seems to be CBD is psychoactive, yes, but in that broader sense, like caffeine affects you. Critically, it's not intoxicating, it won't get you high. It seems to work by gently supporting your body's own balancing act, the endocannabinoid system.
That's a perfect summary. It's about promoting balance, not inducing an altered state. And if you are curious, the advice from the blog from Mike Harmon's work at 420formulator.com is solid. Choose trusted brands, maybe start with a really low dose, and just pay attention to how your body responds. It's personal.
It really is. And it's interesting how loaded words like psychoactive can shape our entire perception before we even understand the nuances, isn't it? Sometimes the reality is much less dramatic, but actually more intricate and, well, fascinating in its own way. And hey, if this conversation sparked your interest and you want to learn more practical stuff, that blog we mentioned, 420formulator.com, is really worth checking out. They don't just explain concepts, they have loads of great recipes, guides on how to make your own things like creams and lotions, even serums apparently, plus info on essential oils and just a lot of useful how-tos.
Yeah, it's a really practical resource.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and helping unpack all of that, and thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and keep exploring.